there's more than enough bad that's happening, right? And there's already like all the problems we're already aware of. So being cognizant of possibilities, I think, is a more productive way of looking at things. And I think we all decide what the hard is. We just need to choose the hard that sort of brings us to more good versus the negative.
This is You Should Talk To, a podcast for busy marketing leaders who are looking for support and tips on getting shit done. In each episode, Daniel Weiner interviews marketing leaders and discusses their experience, successes, and failures around hiring agencies. If you're interested in finding and choosing the right agency partner, then let's jump in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the You Should Talk To podcast. You should talk to pairs, brands, and marketers for free with vetted agencies because finding great partners is a pain in the ass. I'm your host, your sponsor, your everything. Today, super excited to be joined by, I would say now a friend. We met in person. Ameetess Dira, who is the CMO at Petzey. Ammetess, thank you for joining.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we even get rolling, for those who don't know, who are living under a rock and haven't seen your marketing, what is Petzey? Lay it on me.
Sure. So Petzey is a pet telehealth app, which essentially has about 1,000 vet professionals on platform that's available 24/7, no appointment needed, to take pet consultations. So if you have any questions about your companion animal, so that's dog, cat, rabbit, bird, snake, whatever your flavor is, Petzey is here to help you.
Tell me, and I have to ask because I would kick myself for not. Tell us about your animals because you're very passionate about yours as well.
Well, my animal is a dog. I actually got into the pet space inspired by an animal, which is a dog. And I think the rest of the universe is catching up with this passion for animals, which is why I feel like all things digital enabled when it comes to the pet space is highly needed and very much welcomed by pet parents. And my dog Morgan, of course, is our forever model and advocate for all the other animals in the universe.
I love it. Shout out Morgan. We'll dive into the marketing portion unless you just want to talk about Morgan. But my favorite question, as spicy as you're willing to go, what's an unpopular opinion you have in the marketing world or a hot take of sorts?
Sure. So I feel like this year, like 2025, maybe even last year, everybody's been talking about AI, right? Like it's AI everywhere. And there's this like general negative sentiment about how AI is taking over. It's proliferating all over the place. And people don't necessarily think that it's a good thing. I, on the other hand, think that it's a perfect opportunity to celebrate humanity despite the use of technology everywhere. So that's sort of how I look at things. When people are using technology left, right, and center, we're connecting using technology right now. It's the perfect time to highlight how human we are and to use it to celebrate everything else, marketing, brands, and everything.
I like it. I also, I think you're saying that, but I'm curious. I tend to think it's easier now to stand out because of the amount of AI stuff. And if you lean into humanity and such, you're able to stand out as a brand. Do you see that as well? Especially in the space you're in that's deeply emotional and, I'm trying to think of things people are more emotional about than their pets. It's hard.
No, absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm saying too. Like, yes, we use AI. Yes, we use technology on everything. But what really makes you stand out or what really defines brands or even executives on their own is their humanity, being intentional with how we connect with other people and telling genuine stories, like truly unique stories that are, I think, appreciated by most. Like you said, the pet space is probably one of those industries wherein, while technology is welcomed, everything is so emotional. Anything that has to do with your pet, your dog, your cat, sort of drives what your day looks like. So that's not something that technology could diminish. And in fact, I think technology is being used to actually celebrate our emotional connection to our animals. I mean, TikTok, Instagram. My feed was probably just all animals, all dogs and cats.
Most of my TikTok feed is puppies, and just I feel like an emotional connection to a bunch of dogs I've never met that I've only known through TikTok. So I am your
Right.
use case. You've had quite a journey, I would say, in set of experiences. You've worked agency and media, you've had consumer, B2B, and now with Petzey. Tell us a little about that journey, and a question I'm particularly interested in. What have you seen in terms of like consumer behavior and how it's evolved over the years across different industries?
Right. Well, I started my career not even here in the US, but in Asia as a broadcaster. So I was a reporter for the newsroom. And I think from the very beginning, which also probably colors the rest of my career, it's all about learning about stories, like human interest stories. And then throughout now, from broadcasting to just celebrating the media space, like whether it's TV, radio, and print, to doing digital strategies for Miss Winfrey's Oprah store and Disney, and a bunch of other auto clients, to launching Inc. magazine in Southeast Asia. All of that celebrates stories and human connections. So I think the biggest change, or the biggest evolution of how the consumers change globally, like in Asia to here, is that people are a lot more discerning and intentional with how we interact with with brands in general. So I'd say, for example, it used to be that it wasn't cool as an executive to talk about how much I love my animals. And now, especially after the pandemic, it's more common and it's more generally accepted to talk about how much we love our animals, how much we love our dogs, how their state, their physical and emotional well-being sort of dictates how our day looks like.
It's also more socially acceptable for animals to make a guest appearance on calls, at least in my world.
Absolutely.
People are taking them from home and stuff. So
and welcomed even. So I think through time, we have all been more discerning about the brands that we interact with, the company that we keep, primarily because we're a lot more progressive now. We accept all different tastes, different preferences, and I suppose, luckily, a lot of brands have sort of welcomed these nuances of taste and culture and preferences. So we're a lot more discerning, especially the younger generation. Values even play a big part in how we support brands. So I think that has changed marketing in a very real way. Everything is almost personalized right now. So that's how I'm seeing everything.
I like it. In that vein, if you had to give, your best piece of advice to other CMOs, other marketing leaders in general, other VPs about how to, I don't know, kickstart 2026 and set themselves up for success, what would you tell them?
There's a few things that I think would truly improve 2026. I feel like 2025 was such a bad year across the board when it comes to.
I feel like it was a weird year. I feel like everybody kind of thought it was going to be easier, and it wasn't as rosy as people anticipated.
It wasn't, and with all the layoffs too, and all the changes in both media, creative, the agency universe. I think for next year, it's a good time to look inward and truly see, not just as executives, but as brands, what are the things that truly matter to us, and focus on how that translates to everything that we do. So, for example, for pet brands or for Petzey, for example, we have always been very clear on, or at least I've been very clear that my goal is to give access to care. So anything that doesn't serve that primary goal, because I've already decided that that's what we want to do, we sort of put that in the back burner and really just focus on the things that matter. And regardless of whether or not you're working at a company on the brand side, media side, or agency side, even as just a person looking inward and seeing and truly thinking about what kind of difference do I want to make today in people's lives, I think that makes, or what even brings us joy, true joy. I think it's a good time to celebrate that and pursue anything that serves that.
I like that. That's a very optimistic and happier approach than many. I talk to a lot of CMOs who are less optimistic these days. So good to hear some optimism.
There's more than enough bad that's happening, right? And there's already, like, all the problems we're already aware of. So being cognizant of possibilities, I think, is a more productive way of looking at things. And I think we all decide what the hard is. We just need to choose the hard that sort of brings us to more good versus the negative, which is why even my take on all the layoffs is it's an external signal to revisit and to reassess where we want to be in our lives, right? I mean, it sucks. Like, it's never good for anybody to actually be out of the job. But what I'm also finding is that friends of mine who were let go, is taking the time to actually, again, reflect and see, like, was I really happy where I'm at? And if I wasn't, how do I change that going into 2026? So.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a positive. Also, with just since I live and breathe this stuff, like with the agency layoffs, I think so many good new agencies will form, and they'll be small and nimble and fast, and they'll probably eat the lunch of some of the bigger agencies. So hopefully a net positive at some point for the industry.
Right.
Curious about, I think when we first met, if I remember correctly, when I introduced myself, you were like, I think I've seen your name on LinkedIn or something like that. My next question is all about my favorite social network there, which thank you for recognizing my name. Most CMOs, or anybody with a marketing leadership title, but CMO in particular, I hear, is getting hit up every 11 seconds by agencies, vendors, people sliding in your DMs, as they say. Is that the case for you?
Yes. And rightfully so, right? Like, everybody's trying to generate business. I think every single person feels the pinch of a challenging economy, and business growth is of paramount importance for everybody. So I am definitely getting hit up by everybody that it's become interesting. It's become interesting how people are prospecting at a time like ours right now. So yes, it's
That's
been
kind of that's what I'm curious about. Is that welcomed? I asked you how you would what advice you would give to CMOs out there. What advice would you give to agencies out there? Are you even interested? With how busy you are you ever taking calls with agencies or vendors when you're not in market for an agency or a vendor?
So I always say, so, like, right now we don't have active requirements, but I always say when I meet new agencies or new service providers that I'm always open to a conversation, because it's better to know what's available and what the capabilities are even before you need them, just so when you do, you could move faster and quicker, and you're already familiar with the human beings that's behind these companies. right? So I always take calls assuming that these are outreach or these are emails that have taken the time and effort to actually truly get to know me and my business. Because there's no quicker way to for me to ignore something than like just not doing due dil about either the person or the company. So my advice to agencies is to do the work when you're doing an outreach to any kind of company, to at the very least spell their names correctly. Because I think we joked about that as well when we met. But something as simple as spelling the name correctly, I think goes a long way, especially for somebody like me that has an interesting name.
I get so many people who reach out to me who call me Dan, which again, I know it's a form of my name, but I hate being called Dan, and it reminds me of when my parents are pissed off, which I probably shared with you as well. I'm literally Dan nowhere on the internet. Like I'm Daniel or Danny, 100% of the internet, and so many people call me Dan, which I find like incredibly interesting because I would never call you Amy, like short and just hope for the best. So yeah, that is good advice. Do your homework. I'm curious to talk. We'll do positive and negative in the vein of agencies, though. Can you think of a really great agency experience you've had in the past and what made it so great?
There's actually a lot of really great agency experiences.
You're too positive, Ammetess. Too much positivity here. I'm normally looking to like commiserate. We cry a little here. You've got too much positivity today. This is great.
That's because I'm surrounded by amazing animals, and
you should use this as an ad.
Like seriously, they bring you so much joy that it inspires me to become a better human being. And speaking of creative agencies or like agencies in general, I think because we're not actively looking for a partner, I'm always very upfront about that I don't have an active requirement and I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. Meaning if you need to convert somebody, which I completely understand, if that needs to convert today or in this quarter, this is probably not the best time to chat. But I'm always happy for a conversation because I always like to get to know the human behind it. I think now more than ever, a positive experience with an agency involves a genuinely good person, because I think everything else you could work out. If you decide that this person is a truly good human being, a smart one, just like most, but what makes them stand apart is that are you genuinely good? Are you going to be honest with me? Are you going to be strong enough to tell me when I'm wrong or when my idea is shit? Or you
can say whatever the fuck you want here.
Amazing. Well, but you know what I mean? Like it depends really on the person. So
you're preaching to the choir here. I have to remind agencies all the time when they tell me how wonderful their agency is about how many of their clients are like being held together by a piece of duct tape and like one human being in that agency that people like the most. And they're no, it's all this other stuff. I'm like, it helps and of course it counts, but like that one person is why like these 7 accounts are here. So
yeah. But I also feel like it's a hit or miss, right? Because like, let's say even at a small agency, if you just happen to catch that one person from that agency that just doesn't care enough, right, to be present, then your experience with that agency will be bad out the gate. Like you for whatever reason experience the one person that is so aggressive on the sale without necessarily listening to the client, then your experience with that agency is already bad forever, or like until that opinion is changed by some other brilliant human that happens to work at the same agency. So it's always people first, and people move so much these days too. So I feel like a positive agency experience is one that has good people, and that's not just obsessed about the win. which again, I completely appreciate because like a winning attitude, I think makes for a good CMO. But um, I don't know, like people who are just
Yeah,
good.
you want to work with people who are smart and give a shit about you and your business and your career path and all that. That's why like my unpopular opinion is like the work is the price of admission, you know? Like there's a lot of people who do good work, but you want to work with people who make your lives easier and who you look forward to like doing business with. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm actually interested if you have a specific negative of an agent, not necessarily at Petzey, just over your career, you know, of a negative
Yeah.
agency experience you've had and what made it not so rosy.
Um, I distinctly remember one agency that I attend a lot of conferences, like industry conferences, especially like even smaller roundtables for CMOs. And there's one agency that I so wanted to support, just conceptually on paper. I want to support you in any way, like even if it is not through me giving you business, like I'm happy to connect you with people who might be in the market for somebody. Um, and I and I ask for like common courtesies, like being on time, being responsive. And they just kept on failing at that. Like, how is it that I'm more present when you schedule a call? Like, I don't know. This particular agency just di disappointed me because they just weren't respectful of my time and the few opportunities that I gave them to actually win, or actually, I was going to say, and the opportunities that I gave them to win me over, but they already won me conceptually. What I really wanted to know is like, how could I better support you? Like, what are your capabilities so I could better recommend other brands that are in market for your services? And they just failed, and that was disappointing for me because I wanted them to win. Like
Yeah.
I was all for it.
And it had nothing
And
to do with the actual work.
zero to do with the work. It's really just being respectful of everybody's time and saying if you're going to be there a certain time, be there and be present, right? Like, don't be looking at email and like, I see you like texting or looking at your phone. Like, that's kind of, it's just disrespectful.
When
Um,
agents, when I take on new agencies and they ask like, you know, what makes me send business to particular agencies or things like that, I think they think, and they brought it up, you know, that of course I care about the work, but if I sent you agencies, right, and you told me, oh, like, I didn't like the creative they showed me as an example or something, I'd be like, okay, well, like, creative's really hard, creative's subjective. If you told me like they were 3 minutes late to the call, I'd kill them. I'd never send them. I'm being serious. It would keep me up at night
yeah.
for the next week, and I would never send them business, and I would have to kill them. Like, there's no other option because that's the easy stuff. I have to remind people how difficult it is to get in the room. Some of these times you're there, like you did the hard part. The things and
Hmm.
people again. I may be a psycho. You know, when people are like, oh, I was only a minute late. I'm like, oh, like you were still
Oh,
late.
totally.
Like that's not good either. Like everybody's busy. Just show up. You know.
But that goes both ways too. Like I have to say, I mean, a lot of people on the other side aren't also as respectful. Like I come prepared. Like I feel like everybody should come prepared. If you agree to meet at any particular point, you should also be prepared with what it is that you need. Like if I was meeting with an agency, I will already be ready with potential answers on what they might need to help me, right? Like help me help you.
I
Um,
agree. I agree, but they also, again, maybe I'm just more honest than others. They want your money. You know, like you have the thing that they want. They want your money and business and logo and the things that come with it. So I'm not saying that CMOs and marketing leaders shouldn't be respectful, but I give them a little bit of grace on certain things. Right? There are plenty of
right.
monsters and horror stories I hear, but to your point, like showing up on time should just be and being prepared should just be like the easiest box check on the planet. It's why I joke, like, agencies can't get out of their own way sometimes, you know?
Right. And I think honesty too, right? Like, I hate wasting people's time. So if it's not going to be a fit, let's just have that conversation and have a beverage after. Because just because the business can't happen today doesn't mean it can't happen ever, right? Like, there's like a lot of things that go into my mind when I'm meeting with people, because I've been on the agency side too, and I know what that's like to get people who are so non-responsive and who gives you last minute things. Like, you know, we need to be all setting each other up for success. I feel like there's so much, you know, challenges already.
That would be nice. What are you most excited about in the marketing space at the moment?
You know, I'm very excited about a time where technology can be leveraged to give me truly personalized everything. And what do I mean by that? And I'll double click on that, on leveraging technology after. But like, I think in the future, I'd love truly personalized but non-intrusive marketing. If you are a dog mom in LA with a small dog, a small senior dog, you should be served content, services, products that service your needs right now. And throughout the years, as your needs change, as your puppy grows into a senior, go into senior needs, I'd love for a time to come wherein I'll only be served things that are relevant to me. And when that animal crosses the rainbow bridge, that, you know, they would be respectful of the grief that comes with it. So truly personalized but non-intrusive, because I get it. It's extremely expensive. It's cumbersome. It's so complicated to do personalization at scale. But which is why when you leverage technology, that makes it a little bit easier, and the humans can focus on the things that can be replicated by technology or AI, which is empathy and connections and telling that story, right? Like finding certain points of connection that I think make a huge difference, especially at the time that it's happening. So that's the first one. I'm most excited about that because I think now more than ever it is possible. It's still not happening, but hopefully soon enough.
Sure.
I mean, I still keep getting served. I was joking about it with my partner. I keep getting served cat videos, cat products, which is not necessarily a bad thing because it's cute and it's amazing. But all I can think of is like, oh my God, this is wastage. Like, I feel bad for this company. Like, there was one company that kept on serving me ads. And I knew them. I was like, dude, you keep on serving me cat stuff, which I don't have. That's a waste. Those are like hundreds of wasted impressions on me. And I imagine that keeps on happening. Hopefully, at some point, that won't be the case. And I'm most excited about the positive things that AI could bring into the pet space. I was at a conference. I was just at a pet innovation conference, and somebody asked me what I'm most excited about AI to do. And I said it would be absolutely amazing, and I would pay good money if AI could actually translate thoughts of my dog to me. And not just thoughts, but like physical state. I think we're in the early stages of it, like reading signals, like winces, body movement, gaits. I'm excited for what AI could do in terms of bridging that communication gap between animals and humans. I mean,
that would be
it's
awesome.
an exciting part for me.
I love it too. What on the opposite end of the spectrum, what keeps you up at night or stresses you out from a marketing or business standpoint?
Finding good people, I think, is quite possibly the hardest. It keeps me up because at the very core of it, it's always about people. When I was managing a women's platform back in Asia, and I had to manage teams in different countries. So obviously, you can't be there on site all the time. So I was like cycling through different markets because I had to be in different markets every month. At that time, despite me being absent, or teams still probably grew the quickest and the most efficient in the same amount of period where other markets had a full-time person managing them on site. And I think that's because you choose the right people that could flourish in that environment at that particular time. So what keeps me up at night today is actually finding those people that have aligned goals with mine, that can operate independently, because we're all adults, and actually truly want to work on the things that we're working on. Because again, I think purpose and values play a huge part in the success of anything. If you find the right people to do the kind of work that matters, it makes it easier to achieve the kind of success that you want to achieve. And it's hard to find good people.
I totally agree. There's so many people looking for work, which makes it, of course, harder to find what you're looking for as well, which is, an unfortunate byproduct of that. We'll finish with a couple fun ones. What was your very first job?
I was a reporter for a newsroom in Asia. That was my first job, and my first interview was with the president of the country.
I wasn't going to insult you by saying you have a face for radio, but you have a very soothing, very news. I'm being serious, like news delivering voice, I would say. So that checks out.
Daniel, you're so kind, which is why we are friends.
This is why I'm good at what I do. Everybody loves a compliment,
But yeah, so that was my first job. Yes.
That's good. I was going to say, how is that translated into what you do now? But clearly in communicating as well as you do would be, I presume, your answer.
Well, being genuinely interested in stories, I think is a big part of truly understanding and obsessed with the customer, the client, your partners. I think that just translates today.
I love it. My actual favorite question I ask everybody: what would your final meal be if you could have one meal?
Ooh. So the food itself, I mean, there's so many delicious food, right? Like,
you gotta pick a final meal. You can make a weird combo or whatever you need to do, but
a good steak with foie gras probably would be a good meal. But not just the food, though. A final meal should be an experience.
Okay.
So it's
totally fair.
Who you have that with and where you have it with, I think matters more than anything.
I like it. That's a very diplomatic answer there. And my final question: who is somebody who inspires you personally, professionally, or both?
I have to say my dad,
Good
which
answer.
I think I also told you in person. Like, I think I live my life every day in the hopes of one day being worthy of being called his daughter, because he's such an amazing human being, and who I am, I hope, will be a celebration of everything that he's taught me throughout the years. He was a successful pharma executive who was still ever present in my life and my brother's life. So he inspires me to be a good human.
That's amazing. Before we wrap up, anything you want the millions out there listening to check out from Petzey? Anything new coming out? Anything you want to direct people to?
Well, I just want to encourage everybody to rescue animals if they can. There's so much joy in finding the right animal that matches your personality. So I encourage everybody to celebrate the human-animal bond.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining, Ameetess. And can't wait to see more from you and Petzey.
Likewise, Daniel. Thank you much. Happy holidays.
Thank you for checking out this episode of You Should Talk To. This show is brought to you by the company with the same name, You Should Talk To, a company that helps marketing leaders find the right agency or freelancer for their situation. If you enjoyed what you learned in this episode, make sure to follow You Should Talk To wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or visit YouShouldTalkTo.com for more information.